What's up, guys? Part-time Gamer Dad here, and you guys have been asking for it, so I'm going to give it to you. My top 5 best WrestleManias of all time. Something to keep in mind, this is my personal opinion. This isn't necessarily the objectively 5 best WrestleManias of all time based on match quality. There are a lot of great matches in these WrestleManias. These are just the 5 that I enjoy the most and in my opinion are the best. Before we get into it, make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you let me know down below how hyped you are for WrestleMania 40. I think it could end up joining this top 5 list and kicking one of the other ones out. But with all that being said, let's get into my list. So coming in at number 5 is WrestleMania 21. If you've watched my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time, the matches I think are the best, my favorite WrestleMania match of all time is Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels. So it's no surprise that this card gets on to the top 5 list of best WrestleManias of all time. But that match isn't the only great match from that show. Obviously, you have Batista versus Triple H and kind of that coordination of him becoming like the man of the company. And at the same time, John Cena defeating JBL to become the WWE champion. Those matches weren't necessarily like mat classics. However, they were pivotal moments in the trajectory of the company at the time. Also, of course, we had the inaugural Money in the Bank match, which was great, and Edge winning the first ever Money in the Bank briefcase. So this show, in a lot of ways, was very historic, had a lot of landmark moments, and for me personally, best WrestleMania match of all time, so it lands at number 5. Oh, and also, that's not even mentioning Undertaker versus Randy Orton, which is one of the best streak matches up until that point. Coming in at number 4 is kind of an emotional favorite, I think, of a lot of folks, and that is WrestleMania 30. This is the night that Daniel Bryan opened the show against Triple H in a classic, also one of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time, and then close out the night to defeat Randy Orton and Batista to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. It's confusing because there was like unification, but that was such a great moment. But there were so many like actual big moments on this show, and while the match wasn't great, like Undertaker's streak being broken was one of those moments that, as much as we may not have loved it in hindsight, and even in the moment it didn't feel good, that was such a big moment. And that's what this show was just big moment after big moment after big moment. Obviously, Austin and Hogan and The Rock opening things up. And then the emotional feeling of just watching Daniel Bryan actually get the job done, going over to Connor, celebrating that moment with him. It to me is one of those WrestleManias that I don't think I'll ever get tired of watching. If nothing else, just the beginning and ending of that WrestleMania, just to feel good for a moment. And so WrestleMania 30 is number 4. At number 3, this one might be a little bit of recency bias, but WrestleMania 39 was good, y'all, especially for like a 2-night show. It was so well paced, and even with Cody losing at the end of that epic main event between him and Roman, like that match was still one of the best in WrestleMania history. And that doesn't change the fact that the night 1 main event between Sami, Kevin, and the Usos was one of the best main events in WrestleMania history. It doesn't change the fact that the triple threat between Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre was a banger for the IC title, and that all these other matches like really did what they set out to do, which was entertain. Even Lesnar versus Omos was entertaining, and it had no right to be. Theory versus Cena was a little bit of a letdown, but everything after that was pretty solid. Even these big showcase tag team matches were really, really good. So I look back as like a complete whole WrestleMania, and for me, like out of the last 20, it's probably the most entertaining from start to finish. So there's some other WrestleManias I left off this list that I really feel like could have been here. WrestleMania 20 was right on the cusp of being in here. WrestleMania 31 was right on the cusp of being up here. But there's one that's undeniable, and that's number 2. And a lot of people are going to probably be mad at me because I put it at number 2, and I think a lot of people will put it at number 1. And my number 2 WrestleMania of all time is WrestleMania 17. Not X7, it's WrestleMania 17. Look, the main event, as much as I prefer Rock Austin 3 over Rock Austin 2, Rock Austin 2 is undeniably one of the biggest, most important WrestleMania matches of all time. But there's so much stuff on this card that is good. You have Angle versus Benoit in a Mat Classic. You have Kane versus Big Show versus Raven in a Hardcore Championship triple threat match that nearly took out the power to the entire building. You have one of the most like era-defining matches in TLC 2 between the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian for the tag team belts. And then you also have the inaugural WrestleMania brawl between Undertaker and Triple H. And that's not even talking about the father versus son street fight with the biggest pop in the world for Linda McMahon all of a sudden, but between Shane and Vince. This whole show from beginning to end was the culmination of everything that the Attitude Era was about. And I think it's a super important show in the history of the business, maybe one of the most important shows. And for me, like I said, I prefer Austin Rock 3 over Austin Rock 2, but I cannot deny the importance and the significance and the quality of Rock Austin 2, even if I don't care for the ending. And I think that whole ending of that match was rather weak and unnecessary, a swerve for the sake of a swerve, but it is my number 2 WrestleMania of all time. So then you're probably saying to yourself, okay, well, WrestleMania 17 is your number 2 WrestleMania of all time. What's your number 1? That's super easy, my friends. That's WrestleMania 19. WrestleMania 19 to me, I don't see many issues with that show whatsoever. It has so many great matches. You have, like I said earlier, Rock Austin 3, another one of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time. You have Jericho versus Shawn Michaels, which is one of the great, just pure wrestling matches in WrestleMania history. You also have an incredible main event between Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship. And then you have arguably the greatest match of the night, which was Undertaker versus Big Show Nation. No, I'm just kidding. But there were so many just great moments on this show. And I kind of grew up as a Ruthless Aggression era kid. And so my love of Ruthless Aggression just was peaked at that time. And I really feel like as a complete match card, it just really it hit on all cylinders. Yeah, Triple H beating Booker T, especially taking so long after the pedigree, not great. But for the amount of things that were not great on the show, the things that were great far outnumbered it, and the aesthetic of the show in the baseball stadium in Seattle and kind of seeing the light peek through, and the fact that there's so many matches on this show that would easily slot into like my top 10 to 20 WrestleMania matches of all time. I've got to give it to this. It may be a nostalgic pick, but this will forever probably be my favorite WrestleMania of all time, unless 40 does some crazy stuff. Look, Rock's my favorite wrestler of all time. Cody's been my favorite for the last 5 years. This could be the WrestleMania that gets your boy to have a new favorite. I'm going to think about it some whenever we do have it here in a week and a half. But as of right now, you ask Part-Time Gamer Dad in March of 2024, favorite WrestleMania of all time, it's got to be 19. Hey, like I said, guys, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you comment down below your 5 favorite WrestleManias of all time. And also let me know how excited you are for WrestleMania 40. I will see you very soon.